Okay, you won't believe this, but off in the short distance, we have a completely wild phoenix. There it is. I don't know if it sees me yet, but it is a completely wild Bitfenix Comrade. Let's see if we can get a closer look. Alright guys, so it is a completely different place, and of course, right as I actually start recording like this, a plane goes overhead. So, living in a tiny home makes it a little difficult to do case reviews inside the tiny home. We have about 300 square feet of the tiny home, and about 92 square feet of that home, or a little over 92 square feet of that home, is space that can actually be walked in. Everything else is desk or a counter or the bed or things like that. And I'm definitely not going to be doing a review of a case in a bathroom or really cramped space with just a ton of clutter behind me. I know I've probably done it before, and if Jeremy is editing this, I'm sure he'll do a quick clip of me in the past with a cluttered space or something. So this is the Bitfenix Comrade. It is an ATX, up to an ATX compatible mid ATX case, and so it still has all of its plastic and whatnot. But this particular case I want to do a review on, and then I am actually going to probably put in a build into this, a complete build, and actually use it as my new work system. So I wanted something with two different things. I wanted something that actually has up to 3 external 5.25 drive bays, which this has 3. The top one I need an optical drive for, because where I work we actually still have optical data that needs to be read. The second one is so that I can hot swap 2.5 and 3.5 inch hard drives really quickly for data backup from other systems that are being retired. And then the third one I wanted to keep available in case I wanted to add some custom stuff, some custom buttons or whatnot. I know I want my power button over here, as well as a reset switch over here, and maybe a couple other items. So I'm not 100% sure yet what I'm going to do with that, but let's take another look around this guy. So the left side of this case is actually pretty basic. There's nothing here except for this window, which will give you a look inside. Now the one thing I find interesting about this case is that the window goes all the way down to where the power supply would be. I'm not sure how well you can see that. And there's no power supply shroud in order to kind of hide or cover some of the cables. As far as the very back of the case goes, it's actually pretty simple. It has one pre-built 120mm fan inside the system. Woo, whatever that is, it can go away. It also has your very basic, just 7 external PCIe brackets. Now these brackets I am not the biggest fan of, and oh, it's a bee. Hello, bee. Now these particular brackets I'm not the biggest fan of because these guys are, wow, he is not leaving me alone. He is like right in my ear. I'm trying to see if there's like a hive or something around. Yeah, I'm out of here. It also has 7 standard PCIe bracket places. One of them does not come with any cover in it whatsoever, and then the 6 others are actually a bend to snap off sort of thing. I'm really not the biggest fan of the bend to snap off. I don't really like that style. The one thing though about this particular case which I've found kind of interesting is that there is this little plastic piece that you just grab at both ends, and it gives you this side so that you can actually screw in your stuff. I'm going to guess that the black version of this actually has a black cover as well. It would have been kind of cool to see a white version of this, but at the same time I kind of understand that this might yellow a lot quicker than the rest of the system. So, I don't know. Yellow, white, yellow. Black or white? That's kind of your pick. So, and then on the right side, or what I consider the right side, you got your big power button, a big reset button, your headphone and microphone port, as well as one USB 2.0, one USB 3.0. And I know this is kind of an overview of the stuff that they have on this case, but one of the big things that Bitfenix was touting on their website is that this has high-speed USB 3. it only has one USB 3 port on this, so I wouldn't tout that too much, but yet at the same time I understand. Okay, so at the very front of the case, it's very simple. Again, it only has 3 external 5¼ inch drive bays, which I do plan on using. One for an optical drive, one for a hot swap for 3½ and 2½ inch hard drives for when I'm retiring other older systems. And then I wanted to kind of play around with the third, maybe put some lights or switches here to just give it a different character, I guess, since I'm going to have this on my desk. Of course, being pinged. Not now! This is going to be on my desk, and it'll be to my right, which means I'm going to see all of this. So maybe I'll keep those over there. Maybe I'll throw in some USB stuff up here. That would be my ideal situations, having USB stuff here. So lastly, though, with this case only having the one... So lastly, this case only comes with one 120mm fan to exhaust in the back. There is no fan, or fans, I should say, that are installed in the front. There is nothing here. It does have this nice little dust filter, to say that. So again, these are been to snap off as well on these 5¼ inch drive bays. One of the things I would have liked to have seen, because it looks like this can actually just come off, I would have loved to have seen this being swappable to the other side, just simply with how this is designed. I don't think it would have taken too much more to have that done, but that's just probably my gripe. Oh, and lastly, my gripe is these are not air intakes. These are just there. There's no way for air to get through here. The only way that air can actually get in is from this underside, where you would put your hand to take this off. So that, to me, I don't know. I don't think that if you're buying this case that thermals is a question for you. You're not worried about thermals if you're going to buy this case. I would say if thermals is something that is going to be an issue for you, or you think may be an issue for you, maybe look at other cases, but we'll see what my work system will do inside of this. By the way, I have a lot of people asking me, hey, how do you take the front cover off of that PC? Hey, how do you take the front cover off of that PC? Well, so for this particular case, you take your hand, you put it underneath here, and you just pull out, using the front as a wedge to pull it off. That's it. To put it back is pretty simple as well. Just go ahead, line up these guys with the holes in the case, and push in. Having them pop all the way. Yes? You got something to say too? Yeah? Uh-huh. So where were we? Right, we were going to actually open this case now, so let's go ahead and do that. On the very back of the case, it's actually going to be pretty easy. There are 4 thumb screws, which, yes, you can actually use with your thumb and not have to break out the Phillips screwdriver just to open the case. They are plastic thumb screws though, so there we go. There's the internal one off. I'll just set this over here. I'm going to put the thumb screws back in just for now. I don't think that needs to be included though. Okay, so inside of the chassis, we do still have our 3 external 5¼ inch bays. It has a really nice feature. You just put the bay, you just put the drive into the bay, and then you give this a twist, and it locks it into place. So Bitfenix, I actually do greatly appreciate this sort of mechanism for having a toolless drive bay installation, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I also noticed, though, that there are there are also three 2.5-inch drive Bay Caddies in here, which is pretty nice. Actually, these feel to be made of really sturdy plastic. 3.5-inch drives are actually pretty nice as well. It has a nice little pull apart feature. Put the drive in, push it together, slide it in. And again, this actually is really sturdy plastic for what it is. So I appreciate that. Underneath the 3.5-inch drive bays is this plastic bag. It has a quick installation guide inside of it. It has all the screws that you're going to need in order to build in this system. Yes, I know, you used the bathroom. Good job. As well as the Pcie cover that I was complaining about not being there before, and 4 really small, really thin zip ties. That's the word I'm looking for, zip ties. Also, as when I normally gripe about cables inside of cases, it's 2019. It's nice to see that they put some cable shrink rubber over this in order to keep the cables from moving too much. But again, the cables are still color-coded on the very outside. It would have been nice to have seen them use some of that cable shrink a little further up, just to try to hide or mask the ugliness that I find are these colored cables. But that's just me. So in order to get the dust filter on the very back out, you got to pull down on this tab until it pops. Twice. There is one for the left and one for the right. Then you will pull it out towards the back. This feels... Yes, you're talking again. This feels really small and flimsy, and I'm honestly not the biggest fan of this, but I think it'll definitely work for what you need. Alright, so just a couple last things to note here is that there's not a lot of space behind the motherboard standoff part. There's not going to be a whole lot of wiggle room for your traditional power supply cables to be going through back here. There is some extra space though through this, which is nice, but there's no shroud to hide any sort of cable mess or extra cables. And so between that and the fact that there is no space behind here, I think what I am probably going to do when I build in this is I'm probably going to take out the bottom hard drive caddy down here and hide as much as I can over here, which works out just fine once you actually put this on, because then it'll all be behind here. Alright guys, that kind of does it for my overview of this case. I think that it's touting a little more stuff about it. In fact, the things that Bitfenix is touting about this is like its high-speed USB 3 that is on this. That's great, but you only have one connector for USB 3 on this particular case. Alright, so some of the things that Bitfenix themselves is touting about this case is that you can have your 30cm or 300mm graphics cards in here, which is kind of true as long as it's at the same height as your 2.5-inch drive bays that are, drive bays that are in there. So if you have a card and it's at the same height as the 3.5-inch drive bays, you're going to get less than your 300mm. It's also touting that there is the ability to expand inside of this case, not only the 300mm cards, but the amount of hard drive storage that is available in here. Yes, it actually does come with 6 hard drives being able to be installed in here, but that's 3 3.5 and then 3 2.5-inch drives. So in a typical person who I think is going to be buying this particular system, you're probably not going to fully load it up. I recommend that if you're trying to find something that is white and you can have up to 6 hard drives like this one allows you, then this may be for you. But again, if thermals is something that you're going to be concerned over, in this case I don't recommend. Hello again. What are you doing here? Uh-huh. Yeah. Now this case is also saying that it is easy to build in, and while I have yet to build inside of this case, which I will do here in a moment, I don't know how easy it's going to be in compared to other cases. Everything seems to be very straightforward with this, except for cable management. So that'll be something that I'll probably find out as I build along inside of it. So with all of that said, I think what is going to occur now is I'm going to build inside of this and then see just how easy it was to actually build inside of this case. So let's find that out. Hey guys, so Editing Kurt here, and this particular video has gotten a little too long, so at this point I am going to cut it and end it and say leave a thumbs up or thumbs down depending upon how you feel. Of course, your thoughts and feelings are always welcomed in the comments below about the case, especially if you have any build knowledge in the case. That is always appreciated. So with that, I will see you in the next one. I just realized my mic's been off for a while. Yes, you got something you need? Do you need attention? What do you need? Is it your turn? Alright, say hello. Go ahead. Say hello. Yeah? Now that the mic's on you, are you shy?